back to The Perspective. We're still talking about Islamic State and its origins before it entered the national and international media spotlight. Territorial expansion.
So it did achieve territorial expansion into Syria. Sunni Muslim areas of Syria which had been left ungoverned, and effectively it was able to use its muscle to fight its way into those areas and gain control through largely through the force of a gun. Areas like Mosul in northern Iraq, they had largely started to take a back seat as the Iraqi government had increased in capability. Perhaps this was something of a illusion of control, though. However, and clearly it became very clear that there were deep divides within the Iraqi government. That the Shia-led central government had very little support in the north, and therefore ISIS effectively set up links with a range of powerful local former regime leaders, tribal leaders, and swept back into Mosul, and in fact through large swathes of northern Iraq up to the Kurdish borders, and further south down to close to Baghdad itself. So now it has effective control of Anbar, of Nineveh province where Mosul is, of Salah al-Din province where Tikrit is, of large tracts of eastern Syria. Can it expand further? My assessment would be that geographically it's come up against certain buffers, and these buffers are ethno-sectarian. For example, to the north and the northeast now, they are buffered up against the Kurdish regions. The Kurdish regions are de jure, they're part of Iraq. Technically they're part of Iraq, but it's a de facto state run by the Kurds. If you visit Kurdistan, you do not get the feeling of being in Iraq. You pass through Kurdish customs. The Kurdish flag is flying over all the government buildings, and they are, as I say, a de facto government as far as I've ever seen one in the world, which is outside de jure legitimacy. They are now buffered up against that. The Kurds have a fairly powerful armed forces called the Peshmerga, who will be a match for Islamic State. The Peshmerga also get tacit support from a wide range of international allies. So I'd be very surprised if to the north and northeast, into Kurdistan and beyond that Turkey, that Islamic State would be able to take any form of territorial control. Likewise to the south, and the southeast, Baghdad, and then further into South Iraq, the majority of the population are Shia Muslim in these areas. They are vehemently opposed to Islamic State of Iraq, and it would surprise me if Islamic State were able to get strongholds in those areas. There might be isolated communities or neighbourhoods within those cities where they can wield influence. They already do in certain areas of Baghdad, just to the south of Baghdad, in areas like Iskandariya. But I'd be surprised if they were able to sweep and actually take sort of territorial control in Shia areas. That leaves us kind of the west. Well, to the west you have Syria, and that's the Alawite government supporting Syrian section, the kind of east coast of Syria. Again, I'd be surprised if they were able to dislodge the Russian and Iranian-backed current government of Syria from those eastern seaboard, sorry, those western seaboard areas, eastern Mediterranean areas of Syria. That leaves Jordan. Again, Jordan has been a relatively coherent state for decades. It has wide international support, and indeed there's been a groundswell of public opinion against Islamic State within Jordan due to the recent burning of a Jordanian pilot who was engaged in missions against Islamic State. So in terms of territorial expansion, I would be surprised if they were able to exert this kind of quasi-Sharia version of the state in other areas of the Middle East. There are indications, though, however, they're trying to sort of leapfrog into other failed states. I understand there was some video recently of the beheadings of Christian fishermen in Libya. I don't know to what extent their group has...
Egyptian Coptic Christians.
Coptic Christians, yes, but killed executed, my understanding is, in northern Libya. That's my understanding. So they have some links with a group there. There are links to a group in Afghanistan who, again, I don't think are a major player in Afghanistan, but they have committed themselves to the Islamic State cause as opposed to Al-Qaeda or other groupings. And I think in Yemen there is some support. So there is isolated out pockets, but I do not see the Islamic State, the rump of the Islamic State, expanding much beyond what they have at the moment. I do not envisage Islamic States flying over the what was the international zone and the government zone in Baghdad or in Amman or Damascus.
Okay, great. We've got a break, and we'll be back in just a second to finish up this perspective about the emergence of the Islamic State.